Hey there, this is Daniel, real estate agent with Keller Williams. Today I wanted to talk a little bit about interest rates, mainly because people in the last couple of years just love talking about interest rates. I had a hypothesis that we were focused too much on the interest rates and that it was causing issues in other places. So I did a little bit of research. Um, the first thing I did was I wanted to look over the last 50 years. We do have longer records than that in the US, of course, but I figured like with the 50-year span, it should give us a pretty good trend. We've definitely had some ups and some downs over those time periods. So looking over the 50 years, starting in 1974, what was the median home price? Well, that was $36,000 for a median home. Um, in 2024, that was all the way up to 420,000. Now, I'm recording this in 2026. Two reasons why I'm using 2024 numbers. Number one, 2024 has been for over a year, so those numbers are very set. And then the second part, 2025 interest rates actually started going back down again, which we'll discuss here in a second. However, I want the higher interest rates for doing this hypothesis. So let's talk about that a little bit. Um, the pricing that we've had over the last 20 years, uh, interest rate wise, historically has been a bit of an anomaly. And you'll see here, so looking at 50 years, and sorry, I see it says 30-year fixed rates. Oh, yes, it would be 30-year fixed rates because it is um, comparing for the last 50 years what a 30-year fixed rate would be. In 1974, you were looking at 9%, 1981, 18%. So whenever you're looking at that 7% APR, be glad it wasn't 1981 because that was a much, much higher number. Now you see for quite a while it was going down, 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 down to our 20-year low, which was sub 4%, which is fantastic for buying houses, terrible for any savings accounts. The word high yield savings accounts wasn't even used then. CDs barely gave you enough interest to make up for inflation. In fact, they didn't. And that's just on the like in our landscape as individuals. Business wise, it can cause even more havoc. So again, keep in mind we're in an odd 20-year anomaly interest rate wise. Between the central bank, inflation control, economic shifts, these things are going to affect those interest rates. And without some kind of perfect storm again, we're probably not going to see sub 4% APRs anymore, especially for homes. It could happen, but it's not very likely. So let's discuss what happens if it doesn't happen. What would be the cost of waiting? Now, obviously, over a 50-year span, a lot of things can happen. And especially, we're talking about a 30-year loan that most people do not ride out the entire 30 years. So let's shrink that down to just a 10-year span. Plus, the average household does purchase or move to a new house around every 7 years whenever everything is calculated. So I think 10 years is a much easier number to work with here. So let's go over those numbers. The median home price in 2014 was 288,000. 10 years later, you're looking at 420,000. Now, it did have a bit of a spike at that point, but if you remember from before, that line is always going up regardless, and it does kind of even out. There's no crazy, you know, huge raises and huge drops. When you look at a long enough span, it's a pretty straight line there. The difference between those prices is 132,000. I mean, let's be fair, that is a 2014 house, at least in the North Carolina market that I'm in. Not much of a house in 2024, but that's another story. The average interest rate in 2014 was 4.1%. The average interest rate in 2024 is 6.9%, with a difference of 2.8%. So that is a substantial difference, but again, going back to those interest rate numbers, we've certainly seen a much larger gap historically. And then looking at the principal and interest payments, that house being purchased at 4.1%, the $288,000 house, uh, that was going to run you $1,114. Now, of course, that's not your HOA fees and your insurance and all that fun stuff. But keeping apples to apples with all these, $1,114. That would be nice. Same median house in 2024, you're looking at $2,212. So quite the increase. And of course, that's going to be not only because of the price of the house, but because of the interest rate as well. In fact, the it's almost double. It's $1,098 is the difference there. So buying in 2024 versus buying in 2014, you're paying for two houses for the price of one. Now, changing this up a little bit, let's say back in 2014, though, the interest rate had been 6.9%. So 6.9% on a $288,000 house, you're looking at $1,516 a month. So that is, significantly higher than the lower interest rate, of course, but still much more reasonable than taking that same 6.9% and buying the $420,000 house at $2,212. The gap altogether there is $696. So when it comes out uh, altogether, over half the increase wasn't the interest rate. Over half the increase was actually just the price of the house going up over the last 10 years. So, what this means to you, or what it should mean to you, is there's a penalty for waiting. The cost of the house is going to continue to go up. The interest rates will go up, they'll go down, they'll go all over the place. But if you wait, just like we did there, popping back to my number, if you wait that 10 years, doing that 6.9%, you're paying more money for the same house. So, even though things like right now, you may go, man, the price of the houses seem really high and the interest rates seem really high, it is very unlikely that the price of the house is going to go down. Historically, they climb up, up, up. And interest rate wise, great news, you can refinance. So, let's say you got a 7% APR. And again, this is why we're talking 2024 numbers. That would actually be a bad APR right now. A lot of my clients are getting much closer to 6%. So if that dips down to 5.5 or 5%, yes, go ahead, refinance, get that that house that you've already gotten and get it at the lower interest rate. We like to use the term marry the house, date the rate, because the equity that you're going to get owning that house is very likely to be more than the change in interest by buying, trying to buy at just the right time where you get the lower interest rate. Um, if you do have any questions about this, I know it is kind of an interesting concept, and again, a lot of people keep talking about the interest rates. It's I don't think a week has gone by in the last 3 years that I haven't heard something about the interest rates going up or down or staying the same or what they should be doing or anything like that. I'm not a financial specialist. I am a residential real estate specialist, though. So if you do have any questions about real estate, how these interest rates would work for you, how to get one of these loans, try to get you the lowest interest rate possible, certainly reach out to me. TheDanielMiller at kw.com is my email address. Feel free to text me 919-200-0220. And I hope you found this to be educational and informative.